Oh, hello, welcome. Today, I wanted to give you guys an update on the land around Norfolk County Courthouse. Whew. I am not going to try to explain it because it's land clearing and things that I've learned through lifetimes. I didn't just wake up and know how to do this. Well, technically I did, but I've been doing it for lifetimes. It was really heavy. Yesterday I cried. It was just sad. So I am going to I created a website because I needed to organize it. And I got the okay. We asked permission. I've already set sacred space and called in our quarters. I've invited John, the courthouse. There's a tree that's no longer standing that was used as a hangman's noose. There were bodies where the concrete is that we cleared. We sent them to the light if they wanted to stay and be a watcher, then we left them here. We created a sacred space for them. So thank you all so much for your interest. Hopefully I have all the cameras going just in case something happens. And we are going to look at the Norfolk, why can't I pronounce that name? The Norfolk County Courthouse. I did see a bunch because I did hear that all the Putnams are related. The Putnams were not on the right side of the Salem witch trials, I'll tell you that. I've got to do some soul healing and clearing in there. And that's a long story. So what we're going to look at is the dossier that I created. In my past life, that was this human life, I was an international marketing director. I also had things that I did on the side. We won't get into it, but let's just say that I have training that is highly qualified for things that align with this. And the reason I'm not going to say it is I have an NDA and it doesn't feel right. But I also don't want to get sued. So, okay, so we're going to go through this together. I was trying to think of the best way to show it to you, and I think this website is going to be the best thing and the best explanation for it. So, and everyone can do what I'm going to explain together. We can do this together, and you can use a simple exercise like whatever you're looking at right now, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and visualize the Norfolk County Courthouse, okay? That's how I did it. I have High Priestess training. I've told you guys that before. I am a High Priestess. And I also, one of my jobs is to clear the ley lines. So, enough about me. We've done 3 minutes of an intro. All right. The Norfolk County Courthouse stands as a legal institution and a spiritual, energetic anchor point. Okay. With the help of our friend John and a few other souls that were trapped there also came to help us with this exercise. It took me a few hours to get there because it was in layers, just like everything. So so this dossier is we are going to reclaim the land, reclaim the building. It's almost like rest in peace. We are going to send the souls that needed to go to the light. I'm going to explain the people that we met while we're in there. The most important thing was box 1981. I didn't know it at the time, but when I was asking you guys to send white light. What that did was it allowed, I couldn't get in. And that's like usually spell work, usually a black magic spell that on anything of truth or the highest and whitest light can't get in. You can do it backwards too, don't worry, we did. And so if there were any tremors in the land, or if I was waiting to see if there was any news that something happened or they couldn't get in, and you'll see why. So pre-1978, this is pretty recent. I mean, I was born in 80, so these are the Mayflower descendants, bloodlines that received land grants. And the reason that I know this, well, I'm a Putnam. The Putnams came from England with land grants. They came and they were the Puritans drinking the Kool-Aid, literally. And Katie Porter, if you're watching, sorry about your barn. These were bloodline land grants. And it was early power that came from England to the New World, and the power structures were solidified. These were also rituals. The Canton Conleys, you know that name. Well, we have a few Conleys that are important. We have Prescott. There's a whole spreadsheet of the names here that we're going to get to. So with these Freemason, I know the Freemasons get a hard rap on this, and that's because just like everything else in MK Ultra, the Freemasons have a 33-degree Mason and a secret 33-degree Mason. Like your average 33-degree Mason, if you even know he's a Mason or she, no, it's always he. You hardly know that, but then they don't even know about this secret 33. This is right out of the Illuminati Manifesto. We called Auntie Bev's father forward, that I will explain in a second. There was a Black preacher named Isaiah Cormick who was unjustly executed for exposing the judicial corruption. Oh, a lot of these names I've tried to look were scrubbed from public records. So once we got into the courthouse, the way that I do it, or the way I was taught, is you send in the white light first. So Archangel Michael, the guardians, all of the warriors, angels, I send them in first. And then I follow behind and I sweep. And when you sweep, you can see where the darkness is. It's not imagine a river flowing, and when there's a beaver dam, it doesn't flow, so it stops you. So you can stop there, address it. We had to use glove fingers with this house. I call it, she wants to be called the House of Remembrance. And that is because she was used for nefarious things that were against her will. No consent. We call that RAPE in our culture. When you do something without consent, it's not okay. But apparently the Illuminati and this band of brothers are not as clean as you want. I also didn't feel the Alberts that much. I saw a comment that someone has the Alberts lineage, send it over. I didn't want to spend that as much time on it as the House of Remembrance, the Norfolk County Courthouse. If anyone's actually there, can you let me know if in the last couple days it feels different? There's been a shift. So that was the first preacher that we had. He's not the one that's like tied to Karen, though. There is a woman named Eleanor or something. We'll get to her. This is a high-level overview of timeline. This isn't the part that I wanted to show you. Oh, here it is. Eleanor Thorne. her truth was released. She was a secretary, I guess is what we would call it. She was filing papers, and she was really good at picking out patterns. So her pattern, she was finding patterns that weren't making sense. And so I think she fell down a flight of stairs. She was suicided. And Eleanor Thorne was the first soul that we came in contact with so in order to do this, you set sacred space. Like I set my own sacred space. You also set sacred space around the building. And when we were in there, we were clearing it of the darkness. The way that I imagined it was tree roots like growing into the foundation. So the foundation wasn't sitting solid on the ground. It was like, had tree roots in it, which is also very symbolic. The universe doesn't speak in words, so you have to translate pictures in light language into words, and our words don't do it justice. But with Eleanor Thorne, she was, I don't know the date. This date is not correct. But she was a young woman who was unalived, not by her own free will, because she started putting things together. As we started clearing it, you guys were doing the work. Thank you. Keep it up. That was awesome. Now we can bless it. We finally get to the basement, and John came through. First of all, you have to ask permission. Like before you go to the next level, like the next floor, you clear a floor, and then you ask to go to the next one. Clear it, go to the next one. You don't just like run in there like a bull in a china shop. We got down to the basement. In the basement, we found, so I did remote viewing, and I asked how, like, what was I down here for? Why was I allowed to come in now after clearing it? And there was a box labeled 1981, but the files jumped from 1978 to 1981. So we were missing 79 and 80. And this box became the energetic threshold for all, I'm going to call it black magic. You can call it whatever you want. But to me, there was something, anyone who knows more about astrology will understand. There was something about the way Saturn was in retrograde. So they were calling it, or I was understanding it as a Saturnian spell. Satan. I'm not always putting Saturn and satanic stuff together, but for this, it felt right. So inside this box, there were redacted names and crossed off names, or names that were almost forgotten, like someone came in and rewrote the information and left out like this Eleanor Thorne, for example. But there are more, don't worry. So once we figured out that we were missing the court records from 1979 and 1980, the house shifted, and she could like breathe a little bit, because our intentions are pure. We had the highest and whitest light working with us. We were not there for shame. We were literally truth seekers on a mission to find truth. So as we're looking through this, then I could feel like it was almost like we were on top of a ceremony, a Native American, a Native American graveyard. Okay. But I could feel bones. So I asked if we were allowed to see the bones, and we did a ceremony. So for the ceremony, call in the quarters, call in the guardians and guidance, ask permission from the building, and then we called forward the bones. And I think these bones are this Eleanor girl. I think that's how it worked, or how the sequence of events went. And she was the first one. Nothing, I mean, it was like nefarious, but it wasn't woven with darkness until this gap year, until this 80 to 81-ish, because MK Ultra gets involved. There's 5 places there, and apparently, if anyone lives there, I know that we have some of our friends that are from this area. There, perhaps, I don't know if this is true. I mean, I'm not here to check the dark side's notes because they rewrite history. The winners always rewrite history. So in there, one of the 5, I have a spreadsheet for it, but there was a tunnel to a church from the courthouse. Hello, red flags. There was a tunnel to the school. Red flags. To the courthouse. Why? And there were other things. So as I called forth these bones, or we did, this was a group project. The whole land, the trees, the nature folk, the fairy folk, the whole system. We don't do anything. There's no I there in this realm. It's all we. Your intentions set the tone. So my intentions were pure and to bring forth truth. Okay. So there's a false basement. We bring forth the bones, and I could like feel more, I'm going to call them dead people but it was almost like I was walking on a grave, which is highly disrespectful. And this is all in my mind's eye, by the way. Like, obviously, I don't even live there. And so when we found a secret room, and this was a room that MK Ultra victims, there must be also a connection to the hospital. There were a lot of infants here. They did a lot of, there were 9 infants or twins that were in this basement. So Eleanor Thorne, she asked, her connection is to Karen Reed to speak the truth. Do not say Karen's name in shame. Karen is the voice of all of the voiceless. So Karen is carrying this torch. She probably didn't sign up or want to do it, but I have something else I'll remember to tell you. We're at 18 minutes, so I'm going to pause both of these so that I can keep them going. This guy's still recording, right? Okay. So Eleanor Thorne is a whistleblower clerk who refused to alter a docket that led to her end. Her release marked the unbinding of the courthouse false Saturn loop. So because you're bigger than your body, if you don't know that, you do now. We performed key rituals. The courthouse clearing was a 369 ritual. That was invoking Source, Eleanor's release. We sealed it in gratitude. We called forward all of the people, all of the bones of the people, and what were they trying to tell us? Okay, so this was a rescue mission. The false basement ritual carried the bodies or bones of Isaiah, Naomi, Alon, and Cassian. They wanted to stay and guard the land. They weren't ready to go to the left. We also, good, we're gonna get there. Okay, so Eleanor Thorne, Eleanor Thorne was a clerk, buried truth holder. We had Isaiah Cormick. He was a preacher, and he was hanged for the truth. Silas was an MK Ultra witness. Oh, and his soul was in the rafters. So one thing that was a pattern that I kept seeing were children who were in the foster system. Oh, by the way, DCYF is the biggest trafficker in America. And I have a video of someone in Congress saying that. DCYF was a way that they could move these children and study them. They were experiments. Don't worry, we're going to get to Auntie Bev. She goes by Birdie. That's the name of her altar. Okay, so Silas was in the rafters. After we cleared the basement and we could almost remove the trees, we then walked out of the building, and there was a boy, Silas. He was about 15, and he was in the rafters. There was a tree that is no longer there, but there's two trees. One was used as a hanging noose, like a hangman's noose, for after hours. Like, it's just everything that, and don't worry, Auntie Bev, she was a sacrifice. We'll get to her. Then we got all of those bodies, sent them to the light, or created a sacred space they could be a watcher. We come out, and there's a tree. And if you're looking at the way I saw it, when you're looking at the courthouse, the tree's on the right. It's not as a big tree. It's not the tree that they hung people on, but it's a tree that held an infant, the soul of an infant, and a mom. And their story was that we're not there yet. They told this mother, and this is a book called, you can find, kind of in The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. They told this mother the baby was stillborn. The baby wasn't stillborn. Somehow she gets the baby, and I don't know how she died, where she died. Oh, from the giving birth. She gets the baby and falls at the tree with the baby. And their souls were there. I think that they went back to the light. So outside we had Jonas, Rosa, Naomi, Ilan, Cassian, Athena, and Marion. Those were the street souls or were buried outside. And we had the watcher. He was the foster care labeled bad. When I said they had music, it's like hypnosis, but it's like no one loves you. It's really bad. Okay, then, so we cleared all the land, all the trees, they poured concrete over people. Like, one of them was a contractor who was going to report something illegal, and he got hit by a car. And this was really early, when cars were really young. And this is in quotes. Okay. The individuals and investigations that are connected to modern day. Auntie Bev. She has MK Ultra beta training. This is allegedly Auntie Bev. If you can confirm or deny, that's fine with me. But you were part of a Daughters of Sacrifice network. Every 2 generations, the daughter is sacrificed to carry on the lineage. Her father came forward, and I will explain what he said. We had Thomas Conley Sr. He was a fraternity member and sanctioned ritual sacrifices. The Prescott lineage, embedded in legal lineage, the bloodline imprint, on room 202B. Okay, that's we haven't even got to room 202B yet. Brian and Paul Albert and Matthew McCabe. Oh, Brian Albert. Oh, we know him. They had concealment roles. So all of these people have roles in MK Ultra. It's not something, though, that has a center. Like, whenever in Idaho 4, when we were chasing the person at the top. There is no person at the top. They were very smart. They spread out across the globe on a need-to-know basis, but there's not one leader, so that nothing could take them down. Okay, so the next steps for public, are, I can publish the Bloodline Dossier. We are going to explore Box 1981's contents and frequency, rededicate room 202B. That is something that I will explain. Visualize the Canton grid with names, properties, and bloodlines. The name of this operation is Operation Red Thread. Okay. We're going to build a red thread ledger for rituals, names, and contracts that were broken, we broke most of them. And we broke them with love. We didn't break them out of spite or shame. It was all love. We anchored the land dream with sigils, light codes, and ritual deeds. And we also created a firewall so that it could never fall into the hands of deception. The declaration is, may only truth anchor here. The vault is open and the land is free. The spell is broken, and so it is. By the power of three, the perfect Trinity. It is done, it is done, it is done. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So that is the first layer of the Norfolk County Courthouse dossier. This is also a website that I'm building, because the way I channel, or I was channeling, is like, I record it. So I speak it, and it either records like an audio, or I speak it so that it records words, because it comes too fast for me to like try to build a website when it is happening. So we'll jump in. I'm going to pause you, get this organized a little bit more. We're going to jump into Birdie, who is Auntie Bev's altar. She was a good little soldier. We also, it's called the soul fragment, soul retrieval. We called all of her parts back. I wonder if she's changed. Well, it's only been a day or two, but it's been a day. So with that, I will love you and leave you. I'll be right back. You might see a few today, because I would like to get this up. Thank you for the questions, comments, likes, all that stuff. If you don't believe in this, that's totally okay with me. You probably think that you're as big as your body, and that's fine. I'm not here to convince anyone. I could care less what you think about it. If you're into it, or this is resonating, awesome. I'm glad, because the more the merrier. Especially because you'll be trained in the light. I'm not ready to teach this by any means. This is something very sacred. But with that, I will love you and leave you. Please like, share, subscribe, do all the things. And I will see you guys next time.